I'm not laughing at him. If I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry because I hate the next few chapters that are coming up. It's not fun for me what's about to happen. And apparently it's fun for other motherfuckers that read this before and then want to fucking hustle the Bible, but the story doesn't affect them any. It's like, if the story of Jesus doesn't affect your preacher, you should stop going to that church because they have no feeling. Period. I'm just saying, if anybody can read that book with a straight ass face, not somebody you should want to talk to. They probably got a narcissistic personality disorder or something. Antisocial. They have no feeling. Or just maybe I feel too much because I'm manic. Maybe that's what it is. I should ask my therapist. But do you think my therapist will want to talk with me about Jesus? Do you think anybody wants to talk with me about Jesus? Not very many people do. Okay, Ricky. So we are going on to chapter 22. And Jesus just had, I want to say it's his finale of his tour right now. No, I think it was his post finale. So we might be coming up on Jesus' finale concert. Dawson's in there choking to death. He's smoking weed without me. It's okay. I would much rather be here smoking weed with you, not with him. You guys are more fun to get high with. Yeah. We're doing things. We're fucking doing things. And one of those things we're doing is but where we are is chapter 22 of our favorite shit talking tour. Well, okay. It's my favorite shit talking tour. I don't know about anybody else's, but I enjoy it because Jesus talks more shit than a little bit, and it's amazing. Okay. So we're going on to chapter 22, and this was after his post finale. Okay. And Jesus is in the middle of telling them that God is about to give up on them and pick some other people, like Americans, right? And he's like, God, don't want nothing to do with y'all no more, right? And then he tells them, if you come to me, well, okay, these people are about to reject Jesus. And then he reminds them that in the scripture talks about the Bob Marley song, the stone that the builder refuses becomes a key cornerstone. He's calling them the builders for some reason, and he's the key cornerstone, and they threw him out of the pile. But then he furthers this metaphor by saying, because remember, he's calling himself the cornerstone. So he's saying, if you fall on this rock, you will be broken. If this rock falls on you, you're going to be smashed to pieces. So either way it goes, you come to Jesus, you're going to be broken or you're going to get broke. And that's how Jesus sees if you're serious or not. So then now on chapter 22, he continues and he said, again in riddles, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. So he invites all the rich people And the rich people come up with excuses why they can't come. And he's like, okay, fine. So then, hold on. And he sent out and they said no. And then he sent out other Slaves um, to those who have been invited, saying, it's a wedding, right? But they paid no attention and went their way, everybody to their own place. And the rest, they seized the Slaves and mistreated them and killed them. And the king was enraged and sent his armies and destroyed those murderers and set their city on fire. Wait, something's happening. I did something. What did I do? No one knows. Okay. And then he said to his Slaves, okay, the wedding's ready. But obviously, those that we invited didn't want to come and they wanted to fight. So we fought. Now, who are we going to invite? Okay. You know what? Go all over the place and invite as many people as you find. So they went out and they gathered together all that they could find, both evil and good. And the wedding was filled with dinner guests. But then the king came in to look over the dinner guests, and he saw there a man not dressed in wedding clothes. And he was like, friend, what are you doing? Why don't you have any clothes? And he didn't have nothing to say. And then the king said to the Slaves, bind him hand and foot and cast him into the outer darkness. In that place, there will be weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. When the Pharisees went out, they counseled together how they might trap him in word magic, because word magic is real and it's something you need to learn. I used to say that all the time in my videos. Learn word magic, because that's how these terrible ass God people catch you up in your shit. They even tried to use that on Jesus. How much more can they use it on you and confuzzle you up all in your shit? You know what I mean? Like, word magic is the most important thing you can learn. Lawyers speak, politicians speak, preachers speak. They talk backwards and upside down, and you have to learn that shit. Even police talk that way. Okay. And they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, look, we know that you are truthful and teach the way of God and truth, and prefer no one, for you are not partial to any. Listen, tell us, is it lawful to give a poll tax to Caesar or not? But Jesus, understanding word magic, was like, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. And hearing this, they marveled, and they went away. On that day, some Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him and questioned him. Here's where we find out that no angel or no fucking spirit knows another spirit. Here's where we learn that. So we know when we die, we ain't seeing any of these motherfuckers again. Any of them. Good people in our life, bad people in our life. We're not going to know them. We're going to be sent to a whole nother battalion on the other side of heaven. We are not going to know any of these people. And then they said, teacher, Moses said, if a man dies having no children, his brother, his next of kin, shall marry his wife, except for Onan, and raise up an offspring to his brother. Now, there were 7 brothers, and each one of them died. So when they get to heaven, who is her husband? And Jesus said, none. What did he say? I'm going to tell you. Look. Okay. In the resurrection, whose wife is she going to be? And Jesus said, no. You're not understanding. For in the resurrection, they neither marry or are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. But regarding the resurrection, have you not read which that was spoken to you by God, saying, I am the God of Abe, Isaac, and Jacob. He is the God. He is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. And when the multitudes heard this, they were astonished But when the Pharisees heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they gathered themselves together. Dun, dun, dun. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him. Word magic. Learn it. Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? I bet you Jesus doesn't say the same thing as Paul. I bet you Jesus said the right thing. And Paul is a motherfucking liar. Paul had nothing to do with Jesus, and the New Testament is a fucking lie. Jesus is going to tell you right here what the commandment is. Okay. And Jesus was like, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second, like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depends the whole law and the prophets. Now, while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, what do y'all think about La Christe? Whose son is he? And they said, the son of David. And Jesus is like, wrong. You're wrong. Because how can he be the son of David when David calls him Lord? And he's not related to David, except for through Adam, because Adam was God's son and Jesus is God's son, and they're brothers. And he has no blood relation to David at all, because Joseph's semen had nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. That's how David can call the Lord Lord and not son or brother or nephew. That's how. I just want to say that. I itch to say that. Like that is something in my skin that I need to say. And I'll say it every time, and I say it every time. Joe's semen had nothing to do with the birth or conception of Jesus. Jesus is not related to David. Jesus is related to God because he's his son, just like Adam was God's son. That's how David can call the Lord Lord, because he's literally God's kid. Just throwing that out there into the universe so people start to see what it actually fucking is. Because it is not what they say it is. They lie. And best of all, or worst of all, they lie on Jesus and people fucking believe it like they've never read the story of Jesus. And I can tell you, if people don't get a visceral reaction from the story of Jesus, or don't talk to you in a painful way about the story of Jesus, they've never read it, or they're a psychopath and you should stay away from them. Okay. If David then calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer, nor did anyone from that day on ask him another question. Yeah. So, is anybody here? Hi, everyone. Press like and subscribe. And I'm sure a few people have been here. I don't know how many people are here. But what do you think about chapter 22 that we just read, where Jesus is just mic dropping all over the place? He is just steady talking shit. And it's not like he's talking shit behind these people's backs or anything, because he's doing it to their face. But like, what do you guys think about that? Please interact in the chat. I would love to interact with you. We're on a smoke break. We are in between chapters. And I'm wondering what anybody thinks about what we just read. And Jesus mic dropping these fucking terrible ass God people all over the place. He's like, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop. And through that chapter 22 of Matthew, we learn everything Paul has ever said in the New Testament is a motherfucking lie. Just based on this one chapter alone. The New Testament is full of shit. And I don't care how beautiful it sounds and how it makes you feel like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be so saved. But you don't do anything Jesus said. So you can't be saved. And you can't be, one of the hand chosen, because you don't do anything Jesus did or anything Jesus said to say. And I don't understand that. Never will understand that, because people base their whole lives on this New Testament snaky lie bullshit made up by a Pharisee, literally a Pharisee, teaching the exact opposite of everything Jesus has ever said. And nobody points that out. And if you do point it out, you're called a pagan or a heathen. He is calling them out to their faces. Hi, Miss Smutty. How are you? And that is another thing. Jesus called these terrible ass God people out to their faces. And I don't see anybody doing that except for like pagans and shit. Like if you were on really God's side, if you were on God's side for real, you would be pointing that out. Like it's literally a Pharisee teaching you the exact opposite of everything Jesus has ever taught. It's okay, Miss Muddy. Don't be sorry you weren't born that way. Okay. So now we are in chapter 23 of Matthew. And it said, Then Jesus spoke to the multitudes and his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees have seated themselves in the chair of Moses. Therefore, all that they tell you, do and observe, but do not do anything they do. For they say things and do not do them. And they tie up heavy loads and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are unwilling to move them with so much as a finger. And as soon as Jesus died, that's exactly what the disciples did. As a matter of fact, that was the first thing the disciples did. They said, No, we're going to sit down and let them come to us, which is how a Pharisee ended up teaching Jew law in the first place to people that didn't even know what the hell it was. They put people under their shit by a dude going around lying on Jesus. When we have the proof right here, Jesus did not say anything that the New Testament says. And even the disciples that were with Jesus and wrote their books said the exact opposite of what Jesus said. They just went along with what the Pharisees said because they didn't want to die. I'm off my soapbox. I hate these people. These characters in the Bible and the people that descended from them. I do not like them. It gives me high blood pressure. Okay, but anyways, they do all their deeds to be noticed by men, for they have no character or honor. That's not what that says. For they have broadened their phylacteries and lengthened the tassels of their garments. Oh, yeah, that phylactery thing, they put that in the middle of their forehead, and it's like a little list. Fucking right. I'm almost there. 420 is actual resurrection day. I figured that out. That's what it is. That's what 420 is, actual resurrection day. And it should be celebrated for what it actually is. And you should celebrate it with weed. Yeah, because naked zombies and weed are always a great thing. Okay. Anyway, the phylactery thing is a list they put in the middle of their forehead. And they love the place of honor at banquets and chief seats in the synagogue and respectful greetings in the marketplace and being called by men. But you don't want to be called for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on your earth father, or for one is your father, he who is in heaven. And do not be called leaders, for one is your leader, that is the Christ. But the greatest among you shall be your servant. And if whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted. Okay, this woe to you. He's going to say it a bunch of times, but I'm not. I'm just going to run through this shit like my ass is on fire. Okay. But woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut off the kingdom of heaven from men. For you do not enter in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. Because you devour widows' houses, even while for pretense you make long prayers before you receive greater condemnation. Because you travel about on the sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. See, these terrible ass God people, they're all going to back of line. They all go to back of line. I hate these people. I mean, these people and these rat snakes. I just, they are terrible, man. And why doesn't anybody know that? Why? Can your preacher read the story of Jesus and not be affected? Can your preacher really read this, this, this horrible story of Jesus and not be affected by it? Can he read this thing from Matthew to John without being morally affected and see the evil of these terrible ass people and know that they are evil? Can your preacher do that? I don't think he can. You should stop seeing him because he has no feeling. Again, it's probably me that feels this way because I'm a maniac. Literally, I got the documents to prove it. I just have a real problem. Hi, Firefly. Call me down. Where are we at? We're right here. Okay. Okay. You blind guides who say, whoever swears by the temple, that is nothing. But whoever swears by the gold of the temple, he is obligated. No, no. It's you say what you mean and you mean what you say. You have some fucking character. You do your shit in secret. Build your character. You're not supposed to swear on anything anyway. You're not supposed to. That is a rule. You fools and blind men, which is more important, the gold or the temple that sanctified the gold? Whoever swears by the altar, that is nothing. But whoever swears by the offering upon it, he is obligated. You blind men, which is more important, the offering or the altar? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears both by the altar and everything on it. And he who swears by the temple swears both by the temple and by him who dwells in it. And he who swears by heaven swears both by the throne and by him who sits on it. You hypocrites, for you tithe mint, dill, cumin, and have neglected the weightier providings. You should have done the weighty provisions of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. But these things are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. You fucking assholes who strain the net out of, who strain out a net and swallow a camel. Oh, this is marked with a star. So this must mean something important. I marked it with a star. So we'll see. We'll see what it is. Okay. For you clean the outside of the cup, of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. First, clean the inside of the cup, so that the outside of it may become clean also. Listen, you asshole hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanliness. Yeah. Welcome, Ricky. Welcome home. Even so, you too outwardly appear righteous, but inwardly you guys are dicks. Listen, you build the tombs of the prophets and adorn monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had been living in those back days, we wouldn't have done that. Consequently, you bear false witness against yourselves because you are the assholes that did it. Actually, you're the assholes that do everything terrible to your own people and then act like other people do it. But really, you're doing it to your own people. And you're just letting tools be the bad guys so that people who tell the truth aren't called anti-Semitic. You get rid of those people. I mean, in the Bible, anti-Shemitic, it would be in the Bible because they started out as Shemites. Well, actually, they started out as a Shemite and a Chaldean. So they were Shemidians. But anyway, we're past all that. Fill up, then measure the guilt of your fathers. You serpents, you rat snakes with cockroach legs. How shall you escape the sentence of hell? Yeah, ask Peter the same thing. Shut up, Nikki. Just shut up. You have no business. I don't have a business. How would you know? Because of what Jesus said. You are right. It is what Jesus said. It is exactly what Jesus said. But you got to shut up. I do got to shut up. I'm having a problem. Shut up, Nikki. Mm. Therefore, behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will unsubscribe from God's YouTube. Some of them you will beat up in your church and persecute from city to city. Upon you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah. We haven't got that far yet, but we will. Whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. We're going to hear about that. That is a thing that happened, and it was stupid. There was no reason for it. It was completely stupid. And again, it was these people hurting their own people and blaming other people for it. Because listen, I'm telling you, all these things shall come upon this generation. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you're unwilling. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate. Because listen, I'm telling you, from now on, you shall not see me until you say, Baruch, Shep, Adonai. My mom told me that's Jew for blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Now let's go on to chapter 24. Okay. And Jesus came out from the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out the temple. Here we go. Jesus and his melodramatic ass. Look, he's so fucking melodramatic. Let me tell you. So his disciples, you know what? I'm not going to read it because y'all know this story. So his disciples, they come out of the temple and they start pointing out these great buildings and how nice they are. And Jesus like, yeah, but they're all going to be broken. Yeah. And then James and John are like, we're just telling you that it looked nice. And Peter was like, yeah, we just wanted to tell you nice things. Anyway, that's not what Peter sounds like. That's what my version of Peter sounds like. Only because I don't like him. Anyway, so they were like, we just wanted to show you this is real nice. And she's like, yeah, but all this stuff is going to be all torn down and shit. Everything is going to suck. And these buildings aren't going to exist. And then everybody got all sad. And Jesus is like, no, look, I need to tell you. So he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him saying, you know, you're awfully melodramatic and you seem real serious about everything being broken. Do you know when this is going to happen by any chance? You know, so we know to be prepared. You know, because if buildings are going to be crashing, we got houses, like we should know when this is going to happen, right? And Jesus said, hold on. And then Jesus was like, see to it that no one misleads you. Yeah, like Paul the Pharisee. Fucking assholes. Anyway. Many will come in my name, saying, I am a Christ, and will mislead many. And you will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, and that you walk your tiny toy teacup chihuahua during World War III. Because that was a thing that happened. Do you guys remember that meme? What did you do in World War III? I walked my dog. I'm just kidding. That was the first time Iran was trying to be a tough guy with his bird chest. He needs to quit. Anyway. And you will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place. But that is not yet the end. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. In various places there will be famines and earthquakes, but all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. Then they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be deleted from God's YouTube and hated by lots of people on account of my name. You're going to be hurt because of Jesus. not facing the consequences for your bad actions has not a fucking thing to do with Jesus. Your sin is your own sin, and you will die in your own sin. Has nothing to do with anybody else or anything else. It's literally your choices. And at that time, many will fall away and deliver up one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and call themselves Mormon. And they will mislead many because they're Mormon. And because lawlessness is increased, and most people's love will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end, he shall be saved. The only way to get into the army of the Lord is to survive boot camp. And boot camp is earth. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world for a witness to all nations. And in the end, all shall come. Therefore, when you see abomination of desolation, which was spoken through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Literally said that. Yeah, but they do, though. They have prophets, they have apostles, they have people that make shit up and say God said it. Yeah, there's a whole lot of things going on with that Mormon shit. And somebody here is a Mormon. I don't remember who it is. I'm not shitting on you. I'm just shitting on your apostles and prophets that are not apostles or prophets. But they can think they are. I call myself a saint and a sage. Yeah. So I guess if I can do that, they can do that too, right? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I will quit talking shit, sort of. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop go down to get his things that are in his house. And let him who is in the field not turn back to get his cloak. But woe to those who are with child and to those who nurse babes in those days, because your titties will be dry. But pray that your flight is not in the winter. That's why I used to say, keep your fucking shoes on. You never know what's going to happen. Don't take those motherfuckers off. And if you don't have shoes on, wear slippers. Always have some kind of protection on your feet because you never know what's going to happen. And here I am sitting in my bare ass feet and my nightgown talking about keep your shoes on. I have no chill. But my shoes are literally right there, though. So I could grab them. Oh, pray that it's not in the winter or on a Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the word until now, nor never shall. And unless those days been cut short, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect in those days shall be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, behold, here's a Christian, or there he is, do not believe them. For false Christes and false Mormons will arise and show great signs and wonders, so as to mislead, if possible, even the elect. Behold, I have told you in advance. Therefore, don't say nobody didn't tell you. Even if you Paultians don't believe the story of Jesus and only listen to Paul. Yeah. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders and write books about how they died and came back and everything was so wonderful. And they knew everybody. Except for that's not how that works. And I know it doesn't work that way because Jesus just said it 2 chapters ago. They're not going to know each other because that shit don't matter. For just as the lightning has come from the east and flashes even to the west, So shall the coming of Son of Man be. I'm going to be a cloud dolphin. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to be a cloud dolphin. We're going to have good time. But wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. So if you're dead on the inside, everybody else who's dead on the inside is going to come and help you be more dead. Help you be. But immediately after the tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not. Oh, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. For then the Son of Man will appear in the sky on cloud dolphin. Then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds, riding cloud dolphin. Thank you, thank you. Me and Cloud Dolphin make a lot of appearances. We have good time. Yes. And he will send forth his angels with a great trumpet. We haven't heard about this trumpet in a long fucking time. Look, it is still a thing. It is still God's favorite instrument. So that is awesome. See, there's some of the old God. He's in there. He still likes the trumpet. And they will gather together his elects from the four winds to the end of the sky to another. Now, learn the parable from the fig tree. Listen, you remember how Jesus killed the fig tree yesterday? I was thinking about that. Jesus is always talking about the trees and the fruit. You know, if you don't bear good fruit, you get killed for life. So maybe that's why Jesus killed that fig tree. Because it didn't have no fruit. You know, it didn't bring forth fruit. All right. Now learn the parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know summer is near. Even so, you too, when you see all these things, recognize he is near. He's right at the door. Truly, I'm telling you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words shall not pass away. No, everybody ignores your words because of this dickhead called Paul. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, just the Father. For the coming of the Son will be just like the days of Noah, when God Jr. flooded God Sr.'s bathtub and had his little Noah toy in there and shit. And then he forgot about it. And then God noticed it and then kicked God Jr. out. And then God Jr. had to live in a tent. And at this point, where we're at in the Old Testament, he still lives in a tent in David's backyard. He does not want to retire. Anyway, we're not there. Okay. In the days of Noah. For in those days, which were before the flood, they were eating and drinking. They were marrying and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark. And they did not understand until the flood came. Till the flood came and took them all away. So shall be the coming of man. Then there shall be two men in the field. One will be taken and one will be left. And this thing for women also. Therefore, be on the alert, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what time the thief was coming, he would have stayed ready. He would not have allowed his house to be broken into. For this reason, you stay ready. For the Son of Man is coming on cloud dolphin. With good time. Look. Okay. Wait. Okay, the Son of Man is coming on cloud dolphin, and you do not know when. Okay. Who then is the faithful and sensible slave who his master put in charge of his household to give them their food in proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master finds doing what he's supposed to. Because literally, listen, I'm telling you, he will put him in charge of everything. But if that evil slave says, my master is not coming, and then he begins to be a dick to everybody else, and the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and shall cut him in pieces, and assign him a place with the hypocrites. There will be weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. Dun. All right, we're going to end right there. And we'll pick up on chapter 25 tomorrow.